Welcome to This Day and Everything Cool for May 11th. On this day in 1995, Sega made one of the biggest blunders in gaming history. The company gave their new system, the Sega Saturn, a surprise early release in North America ahead of its previously announced September launch. The system had already been released in Japan the previous year, and Sega jumped the gun on the North American launch because they wanted the system out before rival Sony's PlayStation. Unfortunately for them, the plan backfired. For starters, buyers just weren't expecting the Saturn yet, and the early release also meant that the system had fewer launch games. On top of that, not all stores were given early shipments, which confused consumers and angered many big retailers, causing some of them to retaliate by banning Sega products altogether. Finally, the early release gave Sony the chance to undercut the Saturn by dropping the price of the PlayStation. The Sega Saturn never recovered from its launch debacle, and the system was discontinued just 3 years later. Sega's next platform, the Dreamcast, was also short-lived, and the company has since left the hardware business. When Sega's blunders have got you down, always look at the bright side of your life. On May 11, 1969, the British comedy troupe Monty Python was formed. It was made up of Oxford and Cambridge theater performers Graham Chapman, John Cleese, Terry Gilliam, Eric Idle, Terry Jones, and Michael Palin, who joined forces after Chapman and Cleese had been offered a television deal by the BBC. Their debut TV series, Monty Python's Flying Circus, premiered a few months later, offering different comedy sketches that relied on absurdist humor and musical numbers, sometimes with a strong dose of cutting social commentary. The show also had animation sequences created by Terry Gilliam. Countless television specials, live performances, and films followed throughout the 70s and 80s until the group disbanded in 1989. And now for something completely different. May 11, 1973 was a great day for freedom of the press. A federal judge dropped all charges against U.S. military analyst Daniel Ellsberg, who 2 years earlier had leaked the infamous Pentagon Papers to the New York Times and Washington Post. Ellsberg was charged with espionage and could have spent the rest of his life in prison, but the judge ruled in his favor, deciding that even though it was technically illegal to leak the papers, it was done in the greater interest of the country. The Pentagon Papers basically showed that the U.S. government had been lying about the Vietnam War for years, which is why Ellsberg wanted the world to see them. The ruling has since been used as precedent in other cases involving whistleblowers and news outlets.